Three heads, old young. Two heads, one tail, young yin. Two heads, one tail, young yin. Three heads, old young. 2 tails, 1 head, yang yang. Two heads, 1 tail, yang yin. Our bottom trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as solid, broken, broken. This is the trigram Zen Thunder. Thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. In old Chinese belief, thunder slept in the earth over winter and erupted from it in spring, awakening living things into new growth. Thunder is our basic drive for renewal. He inspires initiative and decisive action. He is the stimulus that sets things in motion. He is the eldest son in the trigram family, the first connection of heaven, potential, with earth, realization. Yang makes itself known here, emerging into the field and beginning to grow. Thunder belongs to the east and to spring. Our top or outer trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as solid, solid, broken. This is the trigram dewy, lake, or marsh. Dewy is lake and marsh, abundant energy that teems with life. She is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange, and delights in both inner and outer conversation. She brings things into circulation and gives them voice. This is the sheer enjoyment of participating in life to the full, expressing ourselves and hearing others, and satisfying our desires. Lake is the youngest daughter, spirit of the fertile west, and of autumn. Dewy, lake, or marsh above Zen Thunder give us the hexagram 17. Once our changing lines 1 and 4 transform from old yang to young yin, that'll give us a bottom or inner trigram for our supporting hexagram of broken, broken, broken. This is kun, earth. Kun is earth, open to receive and support what comes to her, providing for its full development. She makes inspiration manifest, gives it form, and sustains its growth. Earth is available to be used, ready to lend her strength to the work without limit. She protects and accepts all things in their totality, present and potential, in an unconditional embrace. Earth is mother, found in the southwest and the harvest time of late summer and early autumn. Our top or outer trigram of our supporting hexagram will be read as broken, solid, broken. This is Kan, water, or deep water. Kan is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li. Li is fire and light. Dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure, and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. Kan, water, above Kun, earth, give us a supporting hexagram of 8. We'll get the titles of our hexagrams from I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It's nice and alchemical in nature. Hexagram 17, I-ming calls following: according with conditions, going along with human desire to gradually introduce guidance. And a supporting hexagram of 8, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. It is called accord. Learning through association, obedience in danger, rectification of imbalance. To start, we will read from Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. It's the perfect little introductory I Ching commentary, if I do say so myself. And I do. Hexagram 17? Nope. Yes? Yeah. Following. Key questions. How are things flowing, and how can you move with them? Where are you being nudged and guided? Oracle. Following from the source, creating success, constancy bears fruit, no mistake. Energy flows strongly into life's landscapes, bringing a great creative drive from the source through towards fulfillment. Following it means a willingness to honor the flow and align actions with it. You can know your ideal and then allow it to meld with the natural current, following signs and nudges and allowing them to draw you onward. Then, you may experience following as an effortless flow of supportive synchronicities, or you may experience it as events unfolding in accordance with their own schedule and failing to keep to yours. It can seem as if simply allowing yourself to be guided by the current is not enough, and you ought to be doing something. But moving with the creative process is not a mistake. Image. At the center of the lake is thunder, following. A noble one at nightfall goes inside for renewal and rest. In spring, the dragon flies out over the fields and brings rain, but over winter he sleeps at the bottom of the lake. As the dragon and the noble one know, energy is stored up below the level of conscious activity, and so to connect with it, you need to go inside and sleep. Instead of obsessively pursuing your desires, stop and rest in accordance with the season. Sequence. Following comes from Hexagram 16, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm naturally means following. When you have a great vision, things and people are naturally carried along by it. And it could be that what first visited you as inspiration corresponds with a larger, more fundamental energy that you experience now as an inner momentum to events. Pair. Following is paired and contrasted with hexagram 18, corruption. Following has no causes, corruption, and then order. Following, you live in the present. Events are not experienced as the effects of causes, they arise spontaneously in the moment. But corruption marks a time for investigating the causes of negative effects, setting life on a more solid foundation. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence the direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Hexagram 8, seeking union. Key questions. Where do you belong? Is this a good fit? Do you choose to join? Oracle. Seeking union, good fortune. At the origin of oracle consultation, from the source, ever-flowing constancy. No mistake. Not at rest, coming on all sides. For the latecomer, pitfall. To seek union is to search for connection and belonging, discovering how it all fits together and creating a new world out of relationships. It begins where divination begins, at your very source. Ask yourself why it was important to ask this question. Get to know where you're coming from. When you find the source, you can flow perpetually out from there towards the right choices and connections. Such self-examination is not a mistake. It's the best way to avoid mistakes. It gives you and your relationships the authenticity of water, which flows together on the earth without changing its nature. Seeking union is natural, but not without stress. Singleness of purpose attracts restlessness from within and without. Demands are made on you from all directions at once. Not all the people or all the feelings that appear will be helpful. You, the Great, conquered the Chinese floods through a lifetime of hard toil. When his work was complete and the land was safe, he summoned the lords and spirits to a meeting to found the new world. One of them, Fang Feng, came late. You had him executed. To recreate a world of relationships like you is good fortune. To hesitate and come late like Fang is not. The decisive leader has to eliminate the non-committal spirit, the one who procrastinates and isn't quite sure whether to believe in this new union. Image. Above earth is the stream, seeking union. The ancient kings founded countless cities for relationship with all the feudal lords. The streams flow together naturally over the earth. People, too, have their natural confluences. The ancient kings strengthened these by building cities near the rivers, perhaps, following the contours of the landscape. You can support and commit to your relationships in the same way, recognizing their natural flow and working with it. Sequence. Seeking union follows from hexagram 7, the army. Crowds naturally have occasion to seek union. First, everything gathers around a single goal, and then there is a desire to connect and form relationships within the group. After the battles have been fought, it's time to start creating a new realm. We'll now turn to our changing lines 1 and 4, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements and are the most focus point of the reading. Each has its own general context. Line 1 has the general context, inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. And line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. So we will turn back to our primary hexagram. 17 following, and read those changing lines. The general when we approach the I Ching to ask a question and consult the oracle, the general context of that question will always be, how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time? Changing line 1 of Hexagram 17 following. An official has a change of heart, constancy, good fortune. Going out of the gates, joining with others, there is achievement. To begin following, first step outside your official role, as you have more allegiance to your fellow humans and to truth and less to formalities and positions. It's good to carry this right through so that you leave your familiar corner behind and go all the way out of the gates, where you can participate in the whole group and be guided by its larger story. And changing line 4, following makes a catch, constancy, pitfall. With truth and confidence, holding to the path with clarity, how can this be wrong? There's a fine line between following an ideal and becoming so intent on your goals that you lose touch with immediate reality, especially if your goal is to receive some particular response you've come to depend on. It's the difference between holding confidently to what is here, the present moment, your path and its direction, and clutching for a false security. Being in motion on your path, allowing yourself to be guided, is never a mistake. We will now read our hexagrams and changing lines from Louis Ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept, and it's quite alchemical in nature. Hexagram 17 following. Following is greatly developmental. It is beneficial if correct. Then there is no fault. Explanation. Following means going along. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is lake, joyous, and below is thunder, active. It means self and others in accord, others rejoicing when one acts, acting to the delight of others. Therefore it is called following. This hexagram represents seeking feeling through essence. It follows on the previous hexagram of humility. Humble people make not of what they have and reveal what they lack. Thereby they use yin to make yang complete. However, this is after the return of yang. Before yang has returned, true yang will not come unless there is a way to summon and absorb it. The way to summon and absorb it is the path of following. In this hexagram, thunder and lake join. Thunder, associated with the east, represents the essence, the self. Lake, associated with the west, represents feeling, the other. In the beginning of life, essence and feeling are one. The primordial true yang is originally in oneself, but when it mixes with the acquired conditioning, it is lost outside, so no longer one's own, but belongs to other. If you want to get back to the origin and return to the fundamental, you have to steal it back from the other. Following as a path is going along with what is desired, gradually introducing guidance. Going along with desire means the self follows the other and gets the other's favor, inducing the other to come follow the self. Other and self following each other, essence seeks feeling, feeling returns to essence, and that which had been lost is restored to oneself. This is great development by way of the path of following. However, though the path of following can be greatly developmental, yet there are true and false medicinal substances. There is progression and order in the firing process. There are times for action and stillness. There are times for advance and withdrawal. A small slip produces a tremendous miss. Therefore, for the great development of the path of following, correctness is most beneficial. Correct means right, following rightly, the self sensing rightly, the other responding rightly. When self and other are both right, even artificial feeling transforms into true feeling, and even artificial essence changes into true essence. Essence loves receptivity and rectitude in feeling. Feeling loves compassion and benevolence in essence. Strength and flexibility, one energy. Essence and feeling joined, we return to pristine purity. Wholly integrated with natural principle. The golden elixir crystallizes, tranquil and unperturbed, yet sensitive and effective yet tranquil and undisturbed. Those who are faulty at the outset wind up impeccable in the end. Try to understand when following is right or wrong, good or bad. And we will look at our supporting hexagram 8, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Accord. Accord is auspicious. Investigating and ascertaining if the basis is always right, there is no error. Then the uneasy will come, but the dilatory are unfortunate. Explanation. Accord has the meaning of association with one another and learning from one another. In the body of the hexagram, one yang dwells in the place of honor, while the 5 yins above and below all follow it accordingly. Also, the quality of the hexagram is obedience by which to get through danger. Therefore, it is called accord. This hexagram, representing yin following yang, follows on the previous hexagram contention. In contention, yin does not obey yang, but instead overthrows yang. Yin and yang are at odds. The 5 elements injure each other, harming their reality, therefore ending in calamity. If you know this is wrong and cultivate the reverse, yin does not overthrow yang, but submits to yang. Yin and yang harmonize. The 5 elements are one energy. Essence is stable and life is solid. This is the path of making the wrong accord with the right, making the artificial accord with the real. What is auspicious about accord is that it is good to accord with what is right and what is real, and nothing is more important than to accord with the basis of true reality. The basis here is the primordial positive energy trapped in the palace of water. This energy is produced by heaven and so is called the vitality of the true one, the water of the true one, and the energy of the true one. This is the basic energy that produces things. In human beings, this energy is basic humanity, which is the reality in which yin and yang are united. But this basic energy falling into yin is covered up by acquired conditioning. It is easy to lose and hard to find. If you are not utterly empty and calmly attentive, with your mind steadfast and your will firm, you cannot recover it. That is why one can only be free from error if one investigates and ascertains the basis that is always right. If one is always correct, under that correctness rises the basic energy, and once the basic energy is restored, yin energy submits to it. Then this is the original flawless, undamaged, integral pattern of nature, which is impeccable, the complete original basis. The classic The Way and Its Power says, effecting utter emptiness, maintaining calm attention, as myriad things act in concert, I thereby watch the return. The spring suffusing the garden says, the 7 times restored elixir is in people, first you should refine the mind and await the time. The way to be always correct is to become empty and keep quiet, to refine the mind. If you do not refine the mind thoroughly, the true yin within yourself will not become manifest. If you do not become thoroughly empty and quiet, the external true yang will not come. If you want to conquer feeling, first conquer essence. Then the uneasy will come. This is whereby to refine the mind and wait for the time, to seek restoration. In the word uneasy are various processes, like adjustment according to the time and warding off danger. This explains the meaning of always right. If I am uneasy and the other then comes, this is what is referred to by the saying, if you want to get, first you must give. First giving means following the other's wish, making oneself accord with the other, thereby to get the other's pleasure. Afterward, getting means that sincerity can move people. Others come and accord with oneself, whereby one can take their living energy. When before and after are clear, and other people and oneself are all taken care of, then the restored elixir can be crystallized. Otherwise, if one cannot first give and idly imagines others will come, what should be first is put after, and what should be after is put first, reversing the accord. This is called acquired conditioning. As it is said, if ordinary people want to seek heaven, when they seek it, they need worldly goods. If they give little and withhold much, the spirits and immortals will not come, and they are sure to have bad luck. How can they affect good fortune and realize the Tao? We will turn back to our primary hexagram and read changing lines 1 and 2, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here's some places you may find yourself. They are the most focused part of the reading, and they take precedence over all other elements. Changing line 1 has the general context, inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. And changing line 4 has the general context, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Primary hexagram 17 following, changing lines 1 and 4. Changing line 1 of following. Standards change. It is good to be correct. Going outside and mixing is effective. Explanation. In the beginning of following, is following right or wrong? Once the standard of following is the standard, it must undergo change. It is necessary to distinguish what is appropriate and what is not. Only by correct following is it possible to attain good fortune. If, once one knows what is right, one then goes out and mixes with people, using things of the world to cultivate the practices of the Tao, one will not fail to accomplish one's work. This is following with care in the beginning. And changing line 4. Following has gain. Even if right, it is inauspicious. Truthfully remaining on the path, using understanding, what blame is there? Explanation. If one is strong and yet can follow, following strength will surely result in gain. However, strength following strength is excessive strength and is inauspicious even if correct. Strength had better be used with flexibility and gentility, truthfully remaining on the path, understanding right and wrong, true and false, knowing when to advance and when to retreat, not bringing on blame and being blameless oneself. This is the following of strength, trusting in the Tao. We will also read the commentary section on each of our hexagrams in the back here. Our primary hexagram 17, following. Lake above, thunder below. There is thunder in the lake, following. Thus do superior people go inside and rest when the sun goes down. Following means adapting to the time. Above is lake, below is thunder. So there is thunder in the lake. Thunder stands for activity, lake stands for stillness. When activity enters into stillness, creative energy temporarily rests and repose is necessary. This is the image of following the time. What superior people see in this is that the primordial, true positive energy in people is covered by the acquired force of mundane conditioning, and nature is moved by feeling. This is like that which is proper to thunder being appropriated by lake. If one wants to restore it, one cannot do so save by following the Tao. Therefore, they go inside and rest when the sun goes down, retreating into darkness at the hour of darkness, temporarily using stillness to nurture creativity, not daring to act arbitrarily, refining themselves and waiting for the proper time to emerge. Resting when it is time to rest is what is referred to by the saying, if you want to take, you must give. This is particularly critical when thunder goes into lake, when the killing force is strong and the vivifying force is weak. This is the extreme of darkness. If you impetuously set out to work at this juncture, not only will the vivifying force not return, but this will stimulate the killing force to go out of control. So just go inside and rest when the sun goes down. First be still before you act. The active follows the passive. The passive then follows the active. Taking over this mechanism is imperceptible to anyone. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, a chord. Number 8, water above, earth below. There is water on the earth in a chord. Thus did the kings of yore establish myriad realms and associate with their representatives. A chord means familiarity, association, closeness. Above is water, below is earth. Water provides moisture without bound. This is the presence of water on the earth. Water is that which provides myriad things and beings with nutritive moisture. Water travels on the earth, flowing without obstruction. The earth is boundless. This is the image of a chord. What the ancient kings saw in this was that the world is vast, and there is a limit to the exercise of government by one person, so that one person cannot associate familiarly with everyone. Therefore, they established myriad realms and delegated representatives, instituting a system whereby the representatives came to court so that the king would be familiar with the representatives, and in turn had the representatives become familiar with the people of their realms. In this way, government was able to reach where it otherwise could not, and be close to people who were far away and could not be otherwise approached. In other words, it was a way and could not be otherwise. In other words, it was a matter of familiarity and association with the multitudes of people through familiarity and association with the representatives of government. When practitioners of the Tao understand the principles of yin and yang, the earthly and the celestial, the 5 elements of vitality, spirit, nature, feeling, and energy, and the 5 virtues of benevolence, justice, courtesy, knowledge, and truthfulness, and cause them to dwell in their proper positions, This is like setting up realms and establishing government representatives. When yin and yang are harmonized, the 5 elements are a unified force, and the 5 virtues are combined. This is like association with the representatives. When the 5 elements are united and the 5 virtues conjoined, all entanglements dissolve and all that is good reaches the same goal. This is like association with the people through association with the representatives. In the body of the hexagram, the yang in the center of water is the honored position of correct balance. This represents the mind of Tao, consciousness of reality. When the mind of Tao is manifest, benevolence, justice, courtesy, and knowledge are rooted in the heart. The tangle of myriad principles is integrated fully into the celestial design. The sprouts of living potential grow and fill the world. The golden flowers of spiritual energy bloom. You may gather them freely. They are spiritual medicines. This is like water flowing on the earth, reaching everywhere. The kings of yore associated with their representatives. Practitioners of the Tao associate with all that is good. The principle is the same. We will now turn to James Dekorne's Gnostic Book of Changes, which I've left links to in the description box below. He is a practitioner of the Tao himself and has left several helpful editor's notes throughout, a synthesis that he has put together of all kinds of I Ching commentaries. He also quotes things that are helpful, like the Kabbalah. Hexagram 17, our primary hexagram, he calls following. Other titles might be according with, acquiring followers, adapting, adjusting, to accord with, to accompany, concordance, conformance to the work. A quote from D.F. Hook. Learn to serve in order to rule. Quit the old ways. Judgment, leg. Following indicates successful progress and no error through firm correctness. Blowfold. Following, sublime success. Righteous persistence brings reward. No error. This sublime success comes, of course, only to those who follow what is right, namely the will of heaven or of those whose own will embodies it. Ritzema/Karcher, following, spring growing, harvesting trial, without fault. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of being impelled or drawn into moving forward. It emphasizes that yielding to the impulse by accepting guidance is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to follow. Wu, following is primordial, pervasive, prosperous, and persevering. There will be no blame. That's a lot of P's, Wu. The image, leg. Thunder in the marsh, the image of following. The superior man, in accordance with this, at nightfall enters his house and rests. Wilhelm/Baines. Thunder in the middle of the lake, the image of following. Thus, the superior man at nightfall goes indoors for rest and recuperation. Blowfold. This hexagram symbolizes thunder rumbling within a swamp. When darkness falls, the superior man goes within and rests peacefully. The component trigrams can be read as thunder and marsh, but also as movement and joy. In the Book of Change, joy is frequently associated with willing obedience to and glad acceptance of what is right. Lu, thunder in the lake symbolizes following. In the evening, the superior man rests and relaxes in his home. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. In following, the dynamic trigram places itself under the magnetic. we see in them the attributes of movement and pleasure. Through firm correctness, all under heaven will be found following at such a time. Leg. Following comes after enthusiasm, the symbol of harmony and satisfaction. When these conditions prevail, men are sure to follow. The hexagram includes the ideas of both following others and being followed by others. The good auspice is due to this flexibility, but in either instance, the following must be guided by a reference to what is correct. The lower trigram of movement represents the eldest son, and the upper trigram of pleasure represents the youngest daughter. The strong places itself under the weak, esteeming others higher than himself, and giving the idea of following. The union of movement with pleasure suggests the same idea. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Following means advancement through willpower. The superior man rests on his inner virtue. In following, the trigram of movement follows the trigram of cheerfulness. Independent action subordinates itself and allows itself to be led by cheerful obedience. In terms of the work, this symbolizes our willingness to follow or adhere to its principles. Psychologically interpreted, following means the compliant subordination of ego autonomy to the great work of psychic integration. Blofeld points out that the trigram of joy or cheerfulness is often associated with willing obedience to and glad acceptance of what is right, hence the cheerful following of the intent of the self. He explains the role of the superior man in the image as, it is not hard to see the connection between following and resting peacefully, for once we have given our allegiance to others, the self, we no longer have to worry about what should be done. A quote from Feng Yulan in A Short History of Chinese Philosophy. At 70, Confucius allowed his mind to follow whatever it desired, yet everything he did was naturally right of itself. His actions no longer needed a conscious guide. He was acting without effort. This represents the last stage in the development of the sage. When received without changing lines, this hexagram often takes the meaning of to accord with. In such instances, the answer is an affirmation to your query. And now we will turn to hexagram 8, our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. James Dekorne calls hexagram 8 holding together. Other titles might be the symbol of subaltern assistance, union, unity, grouping, alliance, coordination, leadership, merging, as with tributaries of a river, seeking union, unification, accord, subservience, individuation, and integration. Judgment, leg. Holding together indicates good fortune, but let the querent re-examine himself by divination whether his virtue is great, unintermitting, and firm. If so, there will be no error. Those who are ready will then join him, but those who delay will meet with misfortune. Wilhelm/Baines, holding together brings good fortune. Inquire of the oracle once again whether you possess sublimity, constancy, and perseverance. Then there is no blame. Those who are uncertain gradually join. Whoever comes too late meets with misfortune. Blofeld, unity or coordination, good fortune. Further consultation of the oracle will provide an omen of great and lasting value. No error. Those whose hearts are troubled assemble. The laggards suffer disaster. Just as the last hexagram deals ostensibly with military affairs, so does this one largely concern administration. For divination purposes, it should be regarded figuratively, unless a problem of administration is actually involved in the inquiry. Lu, union, good fortune. The prediction for one attempting union should be greatness, continuation, and constancy. No blame. If one hesitates, then joins late, misfortune. Ritsimo/Karcher, grouping, significant. Retracing the oracle consulting. Spring, perpetual trial, without fault. Not soothing, on all sides coming. Afterwards, husbanding, pitfall. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of how you categorize people and things and how you relate to these categories. It emphasizes that joining people and things through recognizing their essential qualities is the adequate way to handle it. Sloughnessy, alliance, auspicious. The original milfoil divination, prime. Permanent determination is no trouble. The untranquil land comes, for the latter fellow inauspicious. The image, leg. The image of the earth and over it water form holding together. The ancient kings, in accordance with this, established the various states and maintained an affectionate relation to their princes. Wilhelm/Baines. On the earth is water, the image of holding together. Thus the kings of antiquity bestowed the different states as fiefs and cultivated friendly relations with the feudal lords. Blofeld. The hexagram symbolizes water lying upon the land, coordination. This is indicated by the nature of the component trigrams. It is by cooperation between the fertile earth and the water which irrigates it that growth is achieved. The ancient rulers strengthened the realm by being on affectionate terms with the feudal lords. This may suggest dealing kindly with immediate subordinates. Commentary. Wu, I'll read this before we get into the commentary. Wu, there is water on the ground. This is subservience. Thus the late kings founded the states and kept a personal relationship with all the princes. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Holding together denotes help, and we see in the figure inferiors docilely following their superior. All that is said in the judgment follows from the position of the dynamic line in the center of the upper trigram. Those who do not respond to him have exhausted their good fortune. Leg. The idea of union between the different members and classes of a state and how it can be secured is the subject of holding together. The dynamic line in the fifth place of authority represents the ruler to whom the subjects of all the other lines offer a ready submission. Generally, the second line is the proper correlate of the fifth, but here all of the other lines are also his subjects. Harmonious union is secured by the sovereign authority of the ruler, but he is warned to see that his virtue is worthy of his position, and his subjects are warned not to delay in submitting to him. Those who do not seek to promote and enjoy union until it is too late are left out in the cold. The sentiment is the same as that in the lines of Shakespeare about the tide in the affairs of men. In the image, water upon the face of the earth suggests an emblem of close union. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. The success of the work is determined by the proper integration of intrapsychic forces. Separated and disparate forces are an index of its failure. Unremitting willpower is the catalyst for unity. Do you have the requisite will to facilitate this goal? Ask the oracle. The image. Archetypal intelligences, the gods, created many dimensions of awareness, Jung's collective unconscious or objective psyche, maintaining benevolent contact with them all. Benevolent refers to original intent, Plato's realm of ideal forms, the good. This is the image of an evolving multiverse of awareness, a human psyche. Psychologically interpreted, holding together depicts the self as the fifth line ruler surrounded by its satellite complexes. Astrologically rendered, we see the same image in the solar system with its sun surrounded by planets, each symbolizing a faculty within the psyche, e.g. Mercury is intellect, Mars is aggression, etc. Viewed this way, the eighth hexagram portrays the functioning of a divine process. Whenever the ancient kings are mentioned in the I Ching, We can take them as the symbolic architects of a primordial ideal of perfection. The image in holding together is an allegory of the self establishing the various complexes within the psyche, the sun establishing its planets, so that they can evolve into a reflection of the ideal intent of the work. In the timeless realms of hyperspace, the Garden of Eden and the New Jerusalem exist simultaneously, although here in space-time, as key facilitators in a work in progress, we labor somewhere between cause and effect. Although the psyche of a functional human being is held together relatively coherently, its inner relationships are continuously orbiting each other in cycles of change. Astrological transits symbolize such changes. The Tao of psychic evolution, the work, is to respond to the changes consciously and coherently so that all forces eventually become synchronized with the will of their source. The ego's sole responsibility is to do this in the space-time dimension for the benefit of the self. A quote from Roberto Asciugoli in Psychosynthesis. In whatever way one may conceive the relationship between the individual self and the universal self, be they regarded as identical or similar, distinct or united, it is most important to recognize clearly and to retain ever present in theory and practice the difference that exists between the self and its essential nature, that which has been called the fount, the center, the deeper being, the apex of ourselves, and the small ordinary personality, the little self or ego, of which we are normally conscious. The disregard of this vital distinction leads to absurd and dangerous consequences. The message for the superior man in this hexagram is the only injunction in the Book of Changes to reconsult the oracle. Implicit in this curious challenge is a need to evaluate your competence to further the work. The answer should tell you the condition of your will. Another quote from Roberto Asciugoli in Psychosynthesis. The will is curiously not recognized as the central and fundamental function of the ego. It has often been depreciated as being ineffective against the various drives and the power of the imagination, or it has been considered with suspicion as leading to self-assertion, will to power. But the latter is only a perverted use of the will, while the apparent futility of the will is due only to a faulty and unintelligent use. The will is ineffective only when it attempts to act in opposition to the imagination and to the other psychological functions, while its skillful and consequently successful use consists in regulating and directing all other functions toward a deliberately chosen and affirmed aim. The differences between hexagrams number 7 and number 8 are the differences between a geocentric and a heliocentric frame of reference, emphasizing the fact that the ego and the self each perceive the psyche from an entirely different point of view. A quote from Isaiah 55, 6-9, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways. It is Yahweh who speaks. Yes, the heavens are as high above the earth as my ways are above your ways, my thoughts above your thoughts." We will now turn back to our primary hexagram 17 following and read changing lines 1 and 4, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements and are the most focused and specific part of the reading. Each line has its own general context. Changing line 1 has the general context inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. And changing line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Go. Hexagram 17, primary hexagram, following, changing line 1. Leg. The first line dynamic shows us one changing the object of his pursuit. If he is firmly correct, there will be good fortune. Going beyond his own gate to find associates, he will achieve merit. Wilhelm/Baines, the standard is changing. Perseverance brings good fortune. To go out of the door in company produces deeds. Blofeld, those in power undergo a change. Righteous determination brings good fortune. Going forth from home and mingling with those outside will produce tangible results. Lu, one's position is changing. To continue brings good fortune. Both friends and business are gained by going out. Success. Ritzema/Karcher, in office, possessing denial. Trial, significant. Issuing forth from the gate. Mingling possesses achievement. Commentary. Confucius/Legge, he will not fail in the method he pursues. Wilhelm/Baines, to follow what is correct brings good fortune. One does not lose oneself. Blofeld, the first sentence presages the good fortune derived from officials undergoing a change of heart and following what is right. The tangible results mentioned at the end of the passage imply that we shall not fail. Ritzema/Karcher, adhering to correcting significant indeed, not letting go indeed. Cleary too, it is good to follow what is right, in the sense of not losing. Wu, because following what is correct is auspicious, because his position is not compromised. Legge, the dynamic first line is the lord of the lower trigram. The magnetic lines ought to follow him, but he is beneath them in the lowest place in the figure. This suggests that he should change his pursuit. Because of his strength and correct position, he will be fortunate in this. Going beyond his gate for associates shows public spirit and an absence of selfish motivation. Notes and paraphrases. Sue, at the outset, the man changes his objectives. He will succeed if he remains firm in principle and goes beyond selfish considerations to mingle freely with those who do not share his feelings, as well as those who do. Wing, a change is occurring, whether in your own objectives or in the situation around you. In order to accomplish something, you should now communicate with persons of all persuasions and opinions, yet remain internally principled and discerning. Editor, psychologically, an inner transformation is taking place. If this is the only moving line, hexagram number 45, contraction is created, so a possibly unconscious rearrangement of attitudes and perceptions is suggested. To go beyond one's own gate implies a need to expand your horizons during a shift in the balance of forces. A quote from Miyamoto Musashi in A Book of Five Rings. When I reached 30, I looked back on my past. The previous victories were not due to my having mastered strategy. Perhaps it was natural ability, or the order of heaven, or that other school's strategy was inferior. After that, I studied morning and